Now I know what some of y'all might be thinking. Oh no, here we go again. This is all like last year one more time, isn't it, Lego? And I'm gonna go out there and say that no, it's fortunately not. You see, last year there was an entire drama going around this player, and it was a really big deal in the eyes of the public hockey collective fan base, and we don't really need to revisit those old wounds since that story was last year and it was debunked as not really being what people were joking it was. So today we are going over what was actually written about in an article, because when it comes to Chicago Blackhawks franchise center Connor Bedard, we have ourselves some more drama surrounding him and his name from the recent Winter Classic. Now, I gotta go out there and give a quick aside here. The Winter Classic was terrible for me personally, because the Chicago Blackhawks lost 6-2 to the St. Louis Blues. Peter Mrazek had like a 700 save percentage in that game, and he ended up losing me my week in my Cats League with my friends. So Peter Mrazek and his 700 save percentage game against Chicago, I'm sorry, man, but you totally let me down. Funny part is, I already reached the minimum goaltender requirements for the week already by a pretty significant margin, so even if I did not play that Mrazek 6-2 loss against St. Louis, I would have been fine. And in fact, I probably would have won my matchup because I would have gotten save percentage and goals against average on lock. I was so close and barely ended up losing, and Mrazek and his 700 save percentage certainly contributed to that in a negative way. But anyways, all fantasy hockey tangents aside, what I wanted to refer your attention to was a post made on ChicagoSunTimes.com by Ben Pope. Here's an article talking about the Winter Classic event and how Jeremy Roenick's whining about Connor Bedard should have been addressed privately. Jeremy Roenick bashed Connor Bedard in his podcast on Friday for not saying hello to him at the Winter Classic. It was an absurd, unnecessary tirade from a serial pot stirrer. This article is technically behind a paywall. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read it, but the thing is, I'm actually able to read it without the paywall because I watched a 30-second ad video that the Chicago Sun-Times website has. So you can actually read this article yourself for free without buying anything. You just gotta watch a 30-second video. So with that in mind, I feel comfortable going out there and screenshotting the piece. But of course, the full thing is going to be in the description, so you could go out there and read it yourself. But I wanted to go over the situation here. What's this Bedard drama that Jeremy Roenick is talking about? Well, Ben Pope does a good job at explaining it. On his podcast with former NHL referee Tim Peel on Friday, Jeremy Roenick whined at length about current Hawks star Connor Bedard not saying hi to him at the Winter Classic, accusing Bedard of not respecting hockey history as a result. And okay, I'm gonna say this about Jeremy Roenick. The guy definitely has his opinions about stuff. He has definitely made his presence known as a former player in the NHL media world post-retirement, and he's been in multiple interesting situations about things that he has said in the past. We'll just leave it at that. But for this one, in particular, Connor Bedard, he didn't say hi to me, therefore I'm pretty upset about it. The phrasing of the piece, Roenick whined at length about it. Well, if you listen to the actual audio, it'll be linked in the description. It was posted by This Day in Chicago Sports. Roenick is calm about it, but you can definitely tell that he's maybe not perturbed, but it did get to him a little bit. And he goes on this conversation about how Connor Bedard needs to learn that for guys that have played in the NHL 20-something plus years ago, even if they're not playing now, they're still part of that family. And so for Bedard to not even have the awareness, the perception to go up and fist bump the guys, say, hey, what's going on? Roenick uses that as his main thesis, that Connor Bedard needs to be aware of this kind of stuff, and he needs to be able to do this stuff in order to be like a captain at the NHL level, or in order to fully live up to that sort of status. And I can understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think that it's all too important. I don't know, maybe I'm just like prime Gen Z internet TikTok culture guy right here talking, but even in the article, if you go back onto the Chicago Sun-Times, it was an absurd tirade for several reasons. Roenick, Chelios, and Savard were guests of honor at the game, dropping the ceremonial puck drop together, but there's no reason why Bedard should have had a personal obligation to interrupt his pre-game or in-game routines to greet them. Bedard has demonstrated his maturity in many other ways over the past 2 years, and he had a much more important responsibility at Wrigley Field, actually playing the game. Furthermore, even if Roenick believed Bedard should have had such a personal obligation, it shouldn't be a big deal. And even if it was a big deal to Roenick, he should have addressed it privately with Bedard rather than airing it publicly and posting it on social media. Roenick is thoroughly connected within the Hawks organization, especially right now, coming off of his November 11th induction into the Hockey Hall of Fame and his December 19th celebration at the United Center. He surely wouldn't have had any difficulty getting in touch with Bedard if he had just asked. All the players came up to me, Chelly and Savvy, congratulated us, saying hi, giving us respect, except for one, Roenick said on the podcast. I'm just going to say this because I care and I want to make sure it's understood. There needs to be respect in the game, and there needs to be respect for the history of the game. I understand he's 19, he's young, he's shy, so on and so forth, but these are the things that have to change in Chicago in order for them to start winning, and that's having the respect, or at least the acknowledgement of, we've got to go up and say hi, way to go, because we are a family. Whether we played 20 years ago or we're playing now, we're still a part of that family. The article then says this, arguably even more ridiculous, were Roenick's ensuing comments, suggesting that Bedard's disinterest in him must mean Bedard's current Hawks teammates don't respect him, which is objectively false. If Jeremy Roenick doesn't have enough of a relationship with current Hawks players to be able to talk to Bedard privately, how could he possibly understand Bedard's relationship with his own teammates or the dynamic in the locker room? And that is indeed something that Roenick brings up, like, hey, if Connor Bedard doesn't even have the wherewithal to greet me, then how does he treat his teammates? How will his teammates view him? Etc., etc. And, it certainly is an interesting way to go out there and talk about the best player on the Chicago Blackhawks. It's a certain hill to die on that I'm not too sure will be too relatable, but still, I thought it was interesting to bring it up here because this Connor Bedard drama has certainly taken over certain parts of social media since the Twitter clip was posted of the podcast, but I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. There are some other things talked about in the little clip as well as written about here in the article, so links to both are going to be in the description down below. But out of all the Connor Bedard stuff that's been going on, I know I've been very critical of him this season, especially because of his lack of point production for my fantasy team. There was a really big stretch at the start of the year where he was not producing at all, but lately, Connor has started to get back onto his high horse. I mean, he's riding a 7-game point streak right now, wherein he's got 9 points, so obviously Bedard has started to get things together a little bit more, thankfully, but at the same time, no matter how many points you get, you're not exempt from criticism from Jeremy Roenick of all people. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about Connor Bedard and this drama about him and him not saying hi to Jeremy Roenick. Do you think it's a big deal? Do you think it's not? Let me know in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.